Hello guys and girls listening to this is Rija, and as usual we're gonna check a subreddit community. And today we're gonna check some stories from r/EntitledPeople, so let's start. Horrifying date with entitled guy goes down in family history. Many years ago, back when dial-up was still a thing, I met a guy in an AOL chat room. He seemed pretty normal and we chatted regularly for a few weeks. Turns out, ED, entitled dude, was away at college, I don't remember which one, but he'll be coming home soon for a visit and he suggested we hang out when he got back to town. I agreed and told him to call me when he gets in. This was before everyone had cell phones. ED called me a few days later, announcing he's back in town and asked if I would like to hang out, to which I stupidly agreed. We decided we will catch a movie and maybe a bite to eat, and I asked where he wants to meet. And thus the downward spiral begins. He tells me he doesn't have a car, so I'll have to come pick him up. Problem is, he lived approximately 35 miles from me. Taken aback but not wanting to seem rude, I hesitantly agreed. So I print out the directions, yes, this was a long time ago, and make the drive to his house where I picked up ED, and we make our way to the nearest movie theater. Once we arrive and reach the front of the ticket line, the spiral continues. I begin to order my movie ticket as I had assumed we were going Dutch, when I hear a gasp behind me. I turn around to see him frantically patting his pants pocket in an obviously rehearsed display, proclaiming he must have left his wallet at home. I should note that I suffer from social anxiety, so I don't always do well in social situations that I am ill prepared for. Being put on the spot, I grudgingly paid for both of our tickets and we went inside. At this point, I'm already pretty annoyed, so it didn't help the situation when he spent most of the movie trying to put his tongue in my ear, and I spent most of the movie trying to avoid it. Once the movie ended, we proceeded to the parking lot, where an awkward conversation ensues about how he is hungry, followed by a pointed stare at me. Well, I'm willing to drive us back to your house to retrieve your wallet since I paid for the tickets. I inwardly applauded myself for taking a minor stand. ED considered this while not making eye contact with me and switched nervously from one foot to the other. Well, I would hate for you to drive that far out of the way just for me. I'm not that hungry. ED smiled sheepishly and my annoyance doubles. I could have argued that I was hungry but didn't want to deal with any ensuing pressure on his part for me to pay, so I dropped it. Ultimately, we decide to drive to a nearby high school and just talk for a while. We get out of the car and go sit on some nearby bleachers chatting about nothing really when the spiral continued anew. Over the course of the conversation about his college life, he admitted he usually dated chicks much hotter than me, and that his fraternity brothers wouldn't approve of him dating so far below his league. I was stunned. I couldn't believe he was actually saying this out loud and without any remorse, as if he was stating a fact. I was shocked into silence, wondering if he was joking. But unfortunately, he followed the comment with a joke about how he would have had to sneak me in the back door of his fraternity because his brothers would tease him mercilessly. I didn't know whether to slap him or cry. I mumbled something about that being unfortunate for him. I racked my brain for a reason to bring the day to an immediate close without being outright rude. Not that I didn't have every reason to be, but I was a super non-confrontational person at the time. The sun had just set, and the game lights came on over our heads, illuminating a playing field ringed by a large track. ED suggested we circle the track a few times and keep talking. I agreed but said it was getting late, so just a few times around the track and then I'll better get him home. If you have hung on this long, thanks, it's about to get juicy. We wander around the track still talking, and it happens. ED freezes and stands perfectly still. I stop and turn to look at him. His forehead became almost instantly dotted with sweat. I need to find a bathroom, he says through gritted teeth. I point out some restrooms probably 4 yards away, but they were outside where the game lights shone and were in total darkness. Obviously torn, he tells me to wait right here and sprints behind some nearby bleachers. At first I thought it may be a pee emergency, but when 1 minute turned to 5 and then 10, I began to get concerned. Soon Edie reappears looking pale and disheveled and keeping a good distance between us. "I think I need to go home," he says as he maneuvers carefully so I can see his back. It finally hits me. This poor dude has his pants. Despite the fact that he's been a total jerk, I kind of start to feel sorry for the dude as he has obviously pooped himself, and if the roles were reversed I would be mortified, so I try to be sympathetic. After awkwardly walking to the car, Edie asked me to go ahead and get in the car. He gingerly got in, lowering himself into the seat on his left hip, keeping his butt toward the passenger door, the whole while looking both embarrassed and sick and avoiding eye contact. I put the car in gear and proceed to race him home while a sickening odor begins to permeate the air in the car. I was borderline nauseous by the time we pulled into his driveway. He breaks the awkward silence. "Would you wait here for a few minutes so I can go get cleaned up?" He gave me a pleading look, and I didn't want him to feel bad about what had just happened. Happens, right? So I agreed. After waiting patiently in my car for 25 minutes, I decided I was the biggest idiot in the world and started my car to leave. As if on cue, Edie comes jogging out the front door towards me. I turn the car off and get out thinking he will thank me for being so understanding and maybe a quick hug before I will be on my way. The downward spiral isn't done. At this point, Edie grabbed my wrist and asked me to come in and see his room or collection of something forgettable. I told him I wasn't super comfortable with that, but he assured me his parents and sister were home, so I wasn't overly concerned. He led me upstairs his room where we chatted for a few minutes. I was surprised that he hadn't apologized for the storm that had just taken place. After a few more minutes of idle chit chat, he decided to make his move. Edie leans in to try to kiss me and I bug and turn my face to block his advance. This didn't stop him as he leaned in to kiss my neck while simultaneously touching me. I ducked out of his arm and back toward the door. Edie looks both confused and annoyed. "What's up?" I was aghast. I told him it was late, I was tired, and I didn't know him well enough to be with him. This is where Edie earns his name. He actually scoffed at me and said the words that are still etched in my brain 20 plus years later. "That's not a good enough excuse." Edie spoke in an irritated tone like he was instructing a child. "We have talked for a while, we want on a date?" He gestured to the bed like that was the next obvious conclusion. Backing slowly to the door, it was then that I found my voice. "Look, I just don't feel as though I know you well enough to have..." He cut me off mid-sentence and raised his voice slightly. "That's not good enough." My hand hit the doorknob behind me, so I responded, "I don't care," before opening the door and flying down the stairs and out the front door. I kicked myself the whole way home and called myself every kind of idiot for being such a pushover. I had no intentions of ever contacting him again. I assumed the same for him, so I was mildly surprised when I received an email from him a few days later. True to form, he had written me an entitled rant about how he had wasted time on me and I had misrepresented myself, blah blah blah. I didn't respond. Edie sent me 5 or 6 emails all reading pretty much the same way, before I finally responded to him with a single line of text. "If you don't leave me the hell alone, I'll be taking these emails to the police and filing charges for harassment." That was the last time I ever heard from Edie. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. I hope you all enjoy reading as much as I enjoy recounting it. So she enjoyed recounting this. I mean, I don't think this is the most pleasant experience to remember, right? But yeah, guys and girls, do you know if there is like a, I don't know, worst dates subreddit? You know, like a subreddit where they share super bad dates or stuff like that? Because that seems like an interesting topic, like an interesting subreddit. But there's still 1 minute left for this video to be 10 minutes long. And we all know that for some reason YouTube just loves 10 minutes or longer videos, right? So yeah, let's read this post that I found on a subreddit. I can't remember which subreddit, but it was pretty funny and I just wanted to share it with you. 20 years ago, I was a waiter at Boba Gum Shrimp Company. Every time I go back, I'm reminded of the thousands of shrimp I ate off of people's plates. On the way back to the kitchen, please tip your server. Leave at least 20%. Also, leave some shrimp. So I don't want to sound stingy, but 20%? Like here in Mexico, we usually leave 10% and we are complaining. What's the norm in other countries? Because I've been to US and I've been to Japan, and it's super different because in the US, like, I think 10% is customary, like it's okay. But in Tokyo it's the opposite, like it's bad etiquette to give the waiter or waitress a tip. But anyway, let's check this comment. I work at this Bay restaurant. This nice old man used to come in every single week and order oysters but will never eat them. So of course when he left we all would destroy them. One day we asked him, Joe, why do you always order oysters but never eat them? Don't you like them? He said, oh, I love them, but I have issues with my dentures, so I can chew food very well. I like the flavor, so I just suck on them and then put them back. And I haven't eaten oysters since. So yeah, that's it. Just wanted to share this post because I thought it was super funny. And if you're still watching this, thanks a lot. Really. Girls and guys, I would love to hear your comments about this subreddit community. Also comment on what subreddit I should do next. As always, a like, comment and share is greatly appreciated. And please subscribe if you like the content. Bye!